All right, welcome to the continuation of our Kanban University Distinguished Fellow Program. I'm Todd Little, Chairman of Kanban University, and today I have the privilege of introducing Dragos Dumitriu. Dragos, welcome.
Hello.
And congratulations on being named a Kanban University Distinguished Fellow. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So you guys have been very kind to me. Thank you for the award. A little bit about myself. So I've been in technology for over 20 years, and I would say equal parts spent in software engineering, product development, global IT operations, support, training, and for the last 8 years or so, I spent time in doing more like management, consulting, coaching, and training all over the world.
Okay, great. How were you introduced to Kanban originally?
Well, that could be a tricky question, Todd, asking me that question. So I think there are two different answers to that. How I was introduced to Kanban was some point in, I believe it was 2012 or so. I was on the hallway of a company I was working for in Seattle. And I'm coming out of a meeting and I see someone on my team walking down the hallway towards me, and he's reading a book, right? And I'm like, okay, let me just make sure I walk by so this guy doesn't run into me. So he seems pretty absorbed reading. And this guy like looks up from the book and says, "Hey, Dragos." He's like, "I didn't know you're famous. You're in this book." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. Like, come on." He's like, "Did you write the book or what?" He's like, No. Look, there's a whole chapter about something you did at Microsoft." And he shows me the blue book, Kanban, right? David Anderson's book. And he shows me chapter 4, and there's a picture of me, and I froze, right? I mean, literally, this was happening, in about 8 miles from David Anderson's house, which was right in between where I was working, where I was living. So we're like right there, right? And I didn't know he wrote the book, but so that's how I got introduced to Kanban. Now the other part of the answer is that yes, I knew David for quite some time by that point, and we both worked on this at Microsoft. So I was at Microsoft. I got a promotion, and then I was given the responsibility for managing a team called, the Agile team, XIT team, and it was the support engineering team that's described in chapter 4. And I was trying to understand, what Agile meant at Microsoft for Microsoft. So I joined a bunch of distribution lists. And as I was on this distribution list, there is an email coming from a guy named David Anderson that he was going to speak at a local pretty much venue across the street, and he was going to talk about the impact of theory of constraints to software engineering. Now, it so happens that I was reading his previous book, Agile Management, right? And I had no idea that David Anderson was working at Microsoft. So I'm thinking, whoa, what a coincidence. I'm reading a book by a guy named David Anderson, who seems to be, Scottish, all over the world. And now there's a David Anderson at Microsoft who is speaking about, theory of constraints tomorrow. So I pick up the phone, I look up the David Anderson who sent the email, and I call him and I said, "Hey, so funny, it's like you speak on this topic. I'm reading a book by a David Anderson." And he says, "Yeah, I am David Anderson." I said, "Yeah, I know who you are, but I'm just telling you about this other David Anderson." Anyway, I went to this talk the following day. I don't remember being on the edge of my seat for 2 hours. Everybody knows David. I think if you see this video, you know David. So it was a very captivating talk. We spoke probably for another hour after that, and I said, "Hey, we can use your help with these ideas." So that's how it started in 2005, I think, 4 or 5.
All right, that's great, great. So you've been around for a long time. In your experience, how have you seen Kanban and the Kanban community evolve over the past 10 years?
The past 10 years. So I've been part of many communities for the past 10 years, right? So I believe I was the first Scrum Master in Microsoft back in 2004 or so also. So I followed a lot of Agile communities and have been part and been to some other conferences. There are a couple of things. So the first thing that comes to mind if you're asking me about the Kanban community, I think is the easiness with which teams and organizations can apply the principles and the practices of Kanban, and how easy is it to have results if you measure, right? When people say, well, do you see patterns where Kanban doesn't work? And I say, well, a pattern that I see is when people get excited about stickies and boards and stickies on the wall or on boards. However, they don't measure much, right? And then they're not going to make much progress because they don't even know it. So it helps them with collaboration. It helps them with communication using the visual boards, but they never really get into baselining and understanding their throughput, their cycle times, or their product fitness, right? So, however, it's easy to start, and it's easy to start with the metrics. It's easy to do a baseline, and it's easy to follow the process and drive improvements. The other pattern I have seen is that how easy it is to apply these principles and practices along with whatever methodology you are using, right? I've worked with teams and organizations that were based on Scrum. I worked with teams and organizations that were using still traditional project management or waterfall, or with organizations in technology and outside of technology. And also I have seen the case studies from the community. So, I know it's not me, it's not something I do. It's what everybody does. And if you do enough of the principles and practices, organizations see results within, I would say, 3 to 4 months. They start to see a difference. And that engages people into trying to find out more and learning more and wanting more of it. And I think that's what makes it stick. So those are some patterns that I have seen across the community and across the world, and also both in technology and non-technology fields.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And speaking of great results, you're well known for the Microsoft XIT case study you mentioned earlier, and got some fantastic results. Many people have heard the story in the Kanban system design class, or they've read about it in David Anderson's Kanban book. What would you like people to know that they may not have picked up from the book or from their friendly AKT?
Yeah, so everybody knows David Anderson, and many people know me, and they don't know anybody else. And I was even looking at the last some post from Kanban University a while ago, and he talked about, hey, look at this picture, and everybody, again, it's about David Anderson and Dragos Dumitriu, and I felt a little bit, I had a hesitation making a comment or liking the post, mainly because, I said, there are 7 other people in that picture, and we're not talking about them, and we haven't mentioned their names. So I would like at least to call out their first name. It's been about 15 years since I started working with that team. We're still remain in contact with at least one of them, and I'll tell you who that is. And recently, I joined I joined a WhatsApp group that's called XIT that they're maintaining together, and I didn't know about. And I found out about it yesterday because in preparation for this call, I called Sridhar. Sridhar is the gentleman in the white shirt. He was the program manager and in the picture, and yeah, he added me to the group. So now I'm talking to people I haven't spoken in more than 10 years, and I feel bad about it. But I just want to say that when you look at that picture, and starting from left to right, there's a lady. Her name is Mohana, and Mohana right now she's doing real estate in India. So she started her own business. She's in real estate. The next person, the gentleman in the white shirt, that's Sridhar. And I feel fortunate to call him a good friend, and we've been in contact through all these years, no matter where he went or where I went. Sridhar is still with TCS. He's in Princeton, New Jersey, and he never worked any other way. He told me that he used to run sustain engineering for Sony Entertainment for TCS, and we've talked about it, and he was having things that he was doing at work. The next person is to my right is Hari. Hari was the leader of the test team, and then to my left is Durga. Durga was the manager of the dev team. And Hari left TCS. Durga is still with TCS in Canada, so he's no longer in India. We're not really sure where Jitendra is, which is the next person. And then there's Chaudhry, who's still with TCS India, and Banu, last person on this side of the picture. And we're not really sure where he is. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out where everybody is. We're gonna have a reunion, and I'll write and I'll publish something about it, and also to get their memories and their experiences. However, as you look at this picture and you see the 8 of us, they're smiling and kind of happy. Even though I rode a motorcycle to that event and I got lost. I forgot how to make the turns because they drive on the wrong side of the street, right? So anyway, we're all happy and laughing about it. That was the first team lunch we've had, my first trip to India to meet the team. And, part of getting this role, I was told that the team was not cutting it, right? Things were taking too long, too few deliverables, and that I'm going to have to build a different team with different people, whatever I see fit, and to figure out what knowledge transfer I need to plan for from the current team. Yeah. And then you see this picture, but I was there, and I got to meet everybody, and they had a ton of experience. Great people, and I felt bad. Probably right in that picture, I was starting to think, what's going on? We're taking pictures together. We had lunch. Everybody has a lot of experience. What's going on? And truly, it goes back to one of the Deming quotes that I have in all the slides, that it's the system. But I didn't quite know that at the time. However, I made a commitment to the team without telling them. I made a commitment to myself that I'm going to sort this out. And I'm going to figure it out, right? And I said, what if the role, the problems are coming not from the team and from what the team is doing, but from what the person in this role, which was my role, what if it's coming from here? What if it's everything else around the team? So I went on a quest to find out what that was, and that's where the story started, with the stick figures on my whiteboard. And by the way, this is way before I got to meet David. Before I got to meet David, I already kind of observed, and after spending 2 or 3 weeks in India, I observed the fact that there was a lot of email back and forth and a lot of estimation. So we kind of figured out about 40% of the time the team was sending emails, and 40% of the time the team was stuck in trying to estimate things, right? So those are some of the early improvements that together we figured out that we want to create. Now, I want to step back to what is not coming across from the book or from the pictures. And I think that's the fact that realization that this is a team, these are people that worked a lot of hours. I was staying in the office with them 10 to 12 hours a day. They didn't have quality issues. It's just that they're barely producing anything, and everything was taking a very long time. And right away, I started to see some opportunities for things I could do different, but I also started to do some different things. And the team noticed. And there is this principle in human relationships that's called reciprocity. And reciprocity works the way, the word's common understanding says, it's reciprocity. If I do something, right, you're likely to do the same thing. So in human relationships, something I learned early on was that reciprocity works very well. So if I think highly of you, and you may not think highly of me, but if I'm consistent about that, usually there is some reciprocity at work, which can also work the other way. It's just that you have to put some energy. You put energy into being disrespectful, you're going to create reciprocity. You put energy into being respectful and supportive, then you're going to create reciprocity. Now, through this reciprocity, you build trust. And as you build trust in your relationships, magical things, fantastic things happen. And I think that's the story of XIT, truly. We refuse to lose, and I told the team at some point before I left, I said, here's what it looks like from the other side. And being here with you, that's not what I see. So we have to turn this around. I will do everything possible. And I will share with you what that is, but we all kind of have to contribute to this, right? So that's how that reciprocity started. And that's how it went from an average of 155 days to 30 days to 21 days. And some types of work really went down to 5 days. So, that's something that probably not a lot of people know.
Well, thank you so much for that story. It's really, really a great story. Yeah. So what are you doing with Kanban now?
I think I use this expression before. So we all have like a big tool chest, right? And in that tool chest we have many different things, right? Today, we can enhance the principles and practices of Kanban with analytics, with demand management. So now, it's all about, a product, right? And how can we improve delivery of products, the fitness of the product. And, Kanban is part of it. I would say that for me, it has become a default. The principles and practices are embedded into how I do things. So it's 100% part of what I do. I don't know if I should feel guilty about it or not. We don't use Kanban. We don't not necessarily saying Kanban or Kanban method. However, we apply all the principles and practices. And I recently joined a new organization, so I hung up my consulting hat. I decided that I no longer want to travel the world in consulting engagements, and I want to go back into an enterprise where I can affect outcomes of that group. So I joined Adobe, and while I still am in the Seattle area, we will be relocating to Austin, Texas. So it's kind of a lot of news. And what I do is we're actually focusing on a lean practice. And I'm also happy, I'm joining Eric Green. Many people in the community know him. So Eric and I will be working together at Adobe with Adobe Commerce. And I'm sure you'll hear about it.
Oh, that's great. Best wishes for the new job there. And so now, what would you say you value the most about the Kanban University community?
I owe a lot. I feel I owe a lot to this community, right? You have to understand back in when I started to work with the XIT team, I had no knowledge, really. We had no formal knowledge, right? There was no method. There was no knowledge. What you see, the principles and practices of Kanban, we figure them out empirically with David. And it's funny, like David and I were laughing about it because I kept pointing out to his agile management book. And I said, yeah, but you wrote this here. It's like, yeah, but I never had the chance to practice. I was thinking that these things will work, like theory of constraints and, everything that he was talking about. But like, no one ever really applied it. And, he didn't know anybody who applied it. He didn't have a chance to apply many of those things. So it was like, it was a bit of a lab. And sorry, I'm not crying, but something's going on with my left eye. Maybe I'm crying, but I won't admit it. So the community really took that early knowledge, whatever we came up with, and a lot of amazing things have been developed by, I don't want to give any names because I would not do justice to hundreds of people. A lot of contributions. So truly the community, the conference series. So I went with David and, all over the world, with the conferences and also working with clients, some of the early clients, very big enterprises, very big clients who were adopting the common practices, and because they saw the results. However, every time I would go to a conference, I would learn something new. Right? We're all learning, and it's continuous learning. Is this continuous learning? However, I want to differentiate the learning from teaching. Nobody was coming to teach. People were coming to share experiences, right? To share results. And we all learned, I think. And you go to a lot of other conferences and someone is trying to teach you, right? And I use this expression a lot. There's a bunch of pedantic pontificators out there, and they never have any results to show. And in this community, people come to talk about the results, to talk about their case studies. So I think that's what I value the most about this community. And now that I won't travel as much, I used to travel every week, get on a plane on Sundays and get back home on Thursday nights and then get back on a plane on Sunday. I really have been disconnected from the community. So no matter in which ways we're gonna work next, post this year and a half of COVID, I will engage more.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and results do speak loudly. That's certainly the case. So congratulations again, Dragos. Great to have this conversation with you. Some really great insights that you brought forth. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd.